Welcome everybody to episode 55 of the ADV podcast. Again, a very important one today, so I'm glad you could join all of us here.
Yeah.
Should we get right into it?
Let's just get right into it.
Yeah, let's jump right
into it.
Let's stroll into it.
Tiao.
Okay, so we're going to start out with what's new, and that's when we talk about what's new, specifically with regards to China, of course.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a couple of interesting things here for you. Let's start out with our good old friend Justin Trudeau.
Justin Trudeau. Now, I learned so much about Canadian politics because of you guys out there. I think you can imagine a South African as yourself, an American as myself, don't really care about Canadian politics too much, right?
No, I mean...
Not anything against Canada. It's just that's not our thing, right? We don't live there, have nothing to do with it. But because we have so many Canadian followers and subscribers, and you guys are awesome, and not to mention all the fans I met in Canada were awesome. Yep. You guys, you let us know a lot about the Canadian political system, and in particular, Justin Trudeau. And every single person that has ever reached out to us about Justin Trudeau does not like his policies. Yeah. That's what we've learned. We don't have a personal opinion per se, but we have seen him and his cabinet and leadership be quite soft on CCP.
Too soft on China, specifically with regards to China's kidnap diplomacy, and the Meng Wanzhou thing and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And, of course, selling pretty much all of Canada off to China and doing all these things like training the police and whatever. These just dumb stuff.
But a lot of stuff has come up our alleyway. Anyway, what we wanted to say was that Canada, or Justin Trudeau in particular, just got his comeuppance here. As always, when you try to capitulate to the Chinese government, the CCP, the Communist Party of China, you will be made a laughingstock or you'll be taken advantage of. And it doesn't matter how much you shill for them. Yeah. It doesn't matter how many diplomatic meetings you have. The Chinese government still, at the end of the day, is a 12-year-old bully.
Yes.
So here we are with the Chinese government, another state mouthpiece. This is a diplomat from Brazil.
Yes.
And maybe you can read this eloquent quote.
It says, boy... What's up, boy? Boy, your greatest achievement is to have ruined the friendly relations between China and Canada and have turned Canada into a running dog of the U.S. Spendthrift.
So let's analyze this. Justin Trudeau, whose numerous policies have favored the Chinese government over and over again.
Yes.
To the point where people are like, what's going on, bro?
Yeah.
This, even like moderate supporters of him were like, yo, this is a little suspicious, a little sus, bro. Mm-hmm. But look at what happens. In the Meng Wanzhou thing, it looks like the judicial system's going the way of a fair trial because Canada's a free country.
Yeah, with, a rule of law.
With the rule of law. The problem
Not
is...
law of rule.
No. The problem is without him stepping in like a dictator, because China doesn't understand that another country doesn't operate like a dictatorship. They actually don't understand that. They can't just manipulate things left and right. Because the thing is, with the Huawei trial... Meng Wanzhou is being tried fairly, but the two Michaels are literally being arbitrarily detained, thrown around, mock trials basically everywhere. What are they called when they're like not real, whatever?
Kangaroo court.
Kangaroo court.
Yeah.
So here we have, he has nothing to do with this trial. Justin Trudeau can't do anything necessarily in this trial, right? No. But this is what happens. He gets blamed for ruining the relationship between China and Canada. Yeah. The guy that's been pretty supportive of the CCP single-handedly ruined the relationship. And this is how China will treat you.
I mean, again, it's very telling because the whole Michaels thing versus Meng Wanzhou thing, you see, China does operate in a way that if you basically do what they want, then they will release them. There is no law process that has to go through anything. They will just release them. If, not anymore, of course, it's gotten to that point of no return. But they were kind of like, okay, you've got Meng Wanzhou there. We want you to release her. So we're going to take your citizens. And if you just release her right now, then we'll just kind of release them. And because China can do that, the thing is in Canada and the rest of the world, you can't just supersede the law. If you are a leader, you can't. Biden can't all of a sudden just go and stop a trial of a mass murderer and be like, you know what? Yeah, let's just let him free. It's okay. But in China, you can. There's all this guanxi, there's all this nonsense and the connections with the Chinese government, and you see it very often. Yeah. So they expect, because you can just manipulate the law to do your little favors and stuff in China, that the rest of the world works the same way. So anyway, that's kind of what led to this. And again, it's this real stick, fake carrot that
Yes.
China always hands
Yes.
out. Yes, if you do our bidding, you get the carrot. And so they're like, yeah, I'm doing your bidding. And then they're like, well, you did our bidding anyway, but we're going to hit you with our real stick. That's how it works.
Yeah, so let's go to the next slide in our
little
PowerPoint. So I wanted to bring this back, some callback humor for you guys to show you a development.
Yeah.
This is the Global Times, and you guys know that we've
Yeah, we did this last time.
We did this last time. So Wolf Warrior is a Chinese diplomat. Xi Jinping's office, his cabinet, has created this idea that Chinese diplomats or spokespeople have to be wolf warriors.
Yes.
That's based off of a Chinese nationalist propaganda film.
Yes.
Wolf warriors, that means they go out there, they don't take punches, they deliver them, right? They're, howl at the moon, let's get shit done.
Yeah.
They're mean, they're not diplomatic like the old Chinese leadership, right?
Yeah.
But it's just got an egg on their face. They're very embarrassing. They make China look like a piece of shit.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So because of that, because of people like us, we've always talked about wolf warriors, but now we would name them turd warriors or wolf wankers.
Yeah.
Because of what things we say and the people laughing at them abroad, saying, well, how are they acting so immature? These are diplomats, right?
Sure.
They then declared that to call these diplomats wolf warriors is racist.
Yeah.
That
It's
being
their own
said,
term. Yeah.
they created this term.
Yeah.
They made this up, guys. So you can see here, we showed you this last time, but I didn't have to separate it this time.
Yeah.
This is the same day. No, go back.
Oh, sorry.
This is the same day. It says West racist wolf warrior portrayal of Chinese diplomats.
Yeah.
So
From
they're
the
saying
same
it's
newspaper.
From the same newspaper. The same day it says China's wolf warrior diplomacy in Alaska meeting impresses world.
Yeah.
These were back-to-back articles here.
Sure,
in the same newspaper saying it's racist, but then simultaneously bragging about how that's what we should call them.
Yeah.
So we got a follow-up here from the embassy in Ireland.
Yeah. Okay.
Chinese embassy.
Maybe you can read this because I can't read it with a straight face.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Chinese embassy in Ireland says, who is the wolf? Some people accuse China for so-called wolf warrior diplomacy. So here we go again, insinuating it's racist.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
They made it up, guys.
Yeah.
In his well-known fable, Aesop described how wolf accused the lamb of committing offenses. This is the wolf. The wolf is the wolf, not the lamb. By the way, China is not a lamb.
So
what?
So they basically say, yes, we are the wolf. We are wolf warriors.
If you boil it down and go back around that circular logic, they're saying, yes, we are the bad guy.
Yes, and yes, we are the wolf. We are wolf warriors. It's ridiculous. It's like that Chinese fable about the snake. There's a very famous thing about, there's this farmer and he comes across this snake that's freezing to death in his field. So he takes the snake and puts it inside his shirt to warm it up. But as soon as the snake warms up, it bites him and kills him. And it's kind of a fable to say, a snake will always be a snake type thing. So it's if we went to say, well, the story about the farmer and the snake, you call the West snakes. But remember that the farmer warmed up the snake and he bit the farmer, and we're not the farmer. That's the same logic.
Very, very much the same.
Yeah.
What the most important thing to take away from this is, why the hell was this tweeted?
It doesn't make any sense.
Even if he thought this is awesome, why is the embassy speaking on behalf of the Chinese government tweeting this stuff?
And using Aesop's fables of all things. Anyway, that we had to bring that because it's kind of funny. But something that's not very funny is, again, proof of how China deals with dissidents abroad or anyone who speaks out against the CCP, which you will see is a running theme in our videos because we've both been targeted, our families have been targeted by Chinese nationalists, the Chinese government, etc., in order to silence us. What we're doing right now here, talking to all of you on the internet, is putting people, loved ones, and ourselves in danger. It really is, unfortunately. It puts them in the crosshairs of CCP sycophants, the 50 Cent Army, and various different organs of the Chinese state who
Chinese state
do not want any criticism of the CCP to get out there, any uncomfortable truths. And unfortunately, because of the long period of time that both of us have spent in China and the nature of what we did while we were in China, which was explore a lot, and we have a lot of footage, a lot of video evidence, because I went out and filmed a hell of a lot of B-roll and stuff like that, made a lot of connections with local governments, people in the government, people just randomly, because everyone's kind of connected to the government who's influential in China. We made a lot of, we've seen a lot of things.
Yes.
So when we report on things, we're speaking from a point of experience, and it can be very damaging. So people like us are like a nightmare to the CCP, because we actually do uncover real truths, and they don't want those truths to be uncovered. This is what you see, which happened with this lady who was interviewed and talked about how torture and rape is used against the Uyghurs. So I'd like you to say and tell everyone what actually happened to her.
Sure. This woman's name is Kelbenur Sadiq, and she, I believe, lives in the Netherlands. That's her temporary home.
Yeah.
I don't believe she was like a famous dissident or anything.
No, she's
but
not. She just was
speaking
interviewed.
out. Yeah. She was interviewed and she spoke about the rape and abuse of Uyghur women in the concentration camps in China.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read what happened to her.
Please
and
go
so
ahead.
you can actually understand what's happening in this despicable photo.
Yeah.
It says, Kelbenur Sadiq was making breakfast when the video call came. And actually, you know, a little aside is when I read this, this is exactly what's happened to me. And it's exactly what's happened to people I know.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of stuff that brings me back to very dark places.
Sure.
So she says, and the sight of her sister's name made her nervous. So she gets a call on her phone.
Because she hasn't spoken to her sister in a very long time since she's
It's been
left
2 months.
China, right?
It's been 2 months, right? Or many months, sorry. In fact, many months had passed since Sadiq had spoken to any of her family in China. She's trying to keep everyone safe, obviously.
Sure.
Right? Sadiq was in the kitchen of her temporary home in the Netherlands, where she shared a room and several other refugees, mostly from Africa. 2 weeks earlier, she and 3 other women had spoken to the BBC for a story about the rape and torture of China's detention camps, right, in Xinjiang, where Sadiq worked as a camp teacher.
Right.
Good person to talk to.
Sure.
She hit answer, but when the picture appeared, it wasn't her sister on the screen. It was a policeman from her hometown in Xinjiang. And this is a Han guy.
Yeah, she took a screenshot.
This is a Han Chinese policeman. So she's up in the corner there speaking to him. Notice the first and the second picture are different. I'll tell you why. This guy says, the police officer says, "What are you up to, Kelbenur?" He says, smiling. "Who are you with?" This is not the first time that the officer had called from her sister's phone, but this time Sadiq took a screenshot. When he heard the sound it made, the officer removed his numbered police jacket. So she took another screenshot.
Yeah,
So-
you can see the second one.
Yeah, so this is what happened. Let me find the quote here.
I mean, the whole point is that the main point of this is that he said, "I'm here with your family."
Yeah, so he goes, this is what he says. He says, "You must think very carefully. I have your sister here. I'm with your family.
Yeah, your whole family.
Your whole family.
Yeah.
So think very carefully about what you do."
Yeah.
And I just want to, maybe you can say some words first, and then I want to address some
Yeah,
people.
you know, this is the method. This is a very tried and true method of the Chinese Communist Party, but it's also a tried and true method of thugs, mafia, things like that. Is they know to shut someone up, you go after their family, because when you've got somebody, especially outside of the reach of them, because they can't just go and
To the Netherlands and, yeah.
nab them and shut
Right.
them up in the Netherlands. So what can they do to
like an act
silence
of
them?
war.
Yeah, they can lean on family, and that's what they do. And they threaten family. They will detain family, and they will go after family because they're cowards. It's a weak thing to do. It's like like hyenas, you know, behaving in this fashion.
Yeah.
So they will go after the person's family, threaten them, and it works most of the time. Nobody wants to be responsible for anything bad happening to their family, especially if your family has nothing to do with your political views or with your views, right?
Right.
So it's pretty disgusting, but this is very tried and true. And that's why this article and what's happened here is 100% believable, because similar things have happened to us. Similar things have happened to people that we know from the Chinese government. It's very straightforward that this is not made up.
No, this stuff happens so often.
Yeah.
Literally, personally.
Yeah.
We don't even want to get into it because of the nature of who's implicated, but this has happened to people we know, which has led to them being kidnapped or their family members being kidnapped. And when we saw this, we were like, well, that's right out of the playbook. Well, there we go. So my problem with this is that I wanted to bring this up in my video about the whole Xinjiang cotton thing.
Right.
Basically what happened was Western companies had to say, we can't use this Xinjiang cotton because it's probably using slave labor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They all agree not to do it. It has nothing against China. It's just like, oh, we can't use slave labor to pick cotton, right?
Exactly.
So long story short, China uses this and says, fake news, bullshit. There's no slave labor. We use John Deere tractors or whatever bullshit they come up with.
Yeah.
And they say, this is just the West trying to demonize China.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, oh shit, they're figuring out our genocide over here with like forced slave labor, literally a la Nazi style,
Yeah.
they're saying shit, this is a good opportunity for us to demonize Western companies for the public. So what I wanted to point out, what I failed to mention is I don't blame all this craziness going on in China right now. Even some of my Chinese friends are being like, boycott H&M, boycott Nike because they won't use Xinjiang cotton.
Yeah.
I look at that as a Westerner and say, these are my friends that are literally promoting genocide.
Sure.
But at the same time,
anti-genocide movement.
It's an anti-genocide movement.
Sure.
The problem is that they don't believe that there's a genocide there, right?
Yeah.
And you can't blame them. And what I wanted to point out is I don't blame anyone in China for feeling that way.
Sure.
To buy your government's propaganda, you have, number one, you have no choice.
Sure.
And number two, that's all you hear. There has been not one counter narrative within the borders of China. So of course you're going to think it's fake.
Yeah.
And when you've been told over and over again since you're a kid that Uyghur people are terrorists,
Yeah.
and they need to be locked up anyway, then you don't even question it,
Sure.
right? So I wanted to say I don't blame any Chinese people for excusing genocide. I know that sounds ridiculous, but when you're armed with the knowledge that we have, like in the West, when you can actually see stories like this and actually see photographic, actual graphical evidence of coordinates of camps going up.
And when you really do understand what the Chinese government is capable of,
when you understand how
because
they
you've
operate,
experienced it firsthand.
when you talk to dissidents
Yeah.
who have families that have been affected, when you have just surmounting proof coming out from every country around the world that cares about this. My problem is the Western social media influencers now that are faced with this. They're not like the Chinese people who I can excuse.
Yeah.
They're faced with empirical evidence over and over again about this genocide occurring. Literally, I say this, don't say this like Hitler's Germany happening in Western China right now.
Yeah.
With a straight face can look at you into this camera like this and say, I support Xinjiang cotton. I support the boycotts, and the Xinjiang genocide is not happening. The Chinese government is taking care of the Xinjiang
There's a lot of genocide denial going on right now with these guys. I mean,
they can look at, that's my problem.
Yeah.
They can look at you in the eye, in this camera, and they know they're consuming the same real proof that we have too. They can know that, and they can lie to your face and still sleep at night.
Yeah,
right.
I think they're being nuanced about it, but they're not. Anyway, the whole point of this, guys, is I'm going to tell it to you straight right now. What is the motivation for people to put their families in danger? Okay, why would you say things that would put your family in danger? Why would you go to that length unless it was true?
Right.
Okay. A lot of what the genocide denying people, etc., are doing is they are saying, oh, they just want a green card. So they have a sob story. And if they say this, that means that they are going to get a green card.
Right.
I don't think that this woman would willfully put her entire family at risk, throw them under the bus with the Chinese authorities just so she can get a green card.
Right.
It's just not how it works, guys. You don't get to this level of activism. And it's not one person doing this, it's a whole myriad of people. And when you start to speak to these people and you understand what goes on in China, and you will start to 100% believe what they say, because it is actually the truth. And there is no real motivation to speak up against such a powerful government that can affect your life so drastically and the lives of your families. You wouldn't do it unless it was true.
Yeah, the thing I want to close out about this, and again, this is more importantly about the Uyghur situation. This is more importantly about the human rights situation. But I think it's very important that we counter the narrative that's coming out of Western people that are armed with truth, that are lying to you knowingly for the benefit of their preserving their lifestyle in China or receiving benefits from the Chinese government.
Yeah.
That's pretty effed up.
Yeah.
It's pretty messed up, and it's happening. So we have to make sure that we counter that, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's super important. I think those people. Oh, this is what I was getting at.
All right.
We made a claim last week.
Yeah. Oh, we did.
We've called a lot of things.
Remember,
we called coronavirus.
Yeah.
I hate everything we call is stuff I wish we were wrong about.
Yeah. Remember we said, like, who's going to get sent to Xinjiang?
We said, and we almost said as a joke, we said, we bet these pro-CCP shills, the Western YouTubers out there, you can look them up, will end up going to Xinjiang to do paid propaganda.
Guess who's been tweeting about going to Xinjiang, etc.? The paid shills. So be prepared for that to happen in the near future, and be prepared for a big expose from us when this happens. Anyway, that's all besides the point, because we have to get onto our massive, big soft power hour here. We have a special guest joining us this time around, which is cool. But I think we should answer a super chat or two before we get into it.
Good idea. It's Lila Farley, by the way.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't know, but it's
he
really cool.
actually just so people are interested before I answer these questions, He just contacted us out of the blue, and he just got back from like a anti-Asian hate protest.
Yeah, and so it's we got some
footage.
great insight.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that.
And we'll get to it.
Yeah.
David Pay says, still can't read the Chinese subtitles, but still going back to China based on your documentary this morning. For anyone that missed my video this morning, go check it out. I got a lot of people telling me that they shared it with pro-CCP people, and they were very disappointed in the video. So it's good. It's a good one.
It's a fun little April Fool's. By the way, it is April Fool's today, but at the same time, I am going to let everyone know out there that there are no jokes or pranks in our podcast.
In this podcast.
I personally hate April Fool's. It's my least favorite day of the year, and that's because I just hate dishonesty. And I know it's all in good faith, and it's fun.
No,
and
I
it's
like
pranks.
it if it is in good faith.
Yeah, but I just don't like having to second guess everything that people say.
So this will be
just
serious.
because of the date. But you got to know that there's no April Fool's malarkey in this one.
Right.
I can guarantee you that 100%.
Kate Sung says, you guys mentioned Quora is backed by the CCP. I couldn't find a source online. Is there a direct link between the cesspool of a site and the CCP? I never said it was backed by the CCP. I said it's
been
a
taken
haven.
over by CCP sycophants and the WUMA. It's very
insane.
easy. Go and make any post that puts the CCP in a derogatory light on Quora and see the kind of response you get.
Yeah.
Just talk about Tiananmen Square or something.
Yeah, be fair about it.
Or about Xinjiang genocide.
Oh, dude, you'll just have genocide deniers.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Matthew Booth says, I'm enrolled at Beijing Huawen Daxue online Chinese program, and we have culture classes. And we just had one talking about how great it is in Xinjiang.
Isn't it so amazing that all of a sudden the positive propaganda about Xinjiang just comes out of the woodwork? Where was it before?
The cotton is.
Yeah, and they have them dancing in traditional outfits, and it's shameless. It's ridiculous.
Right.
You know what I mean? Imagine if people, talk about, I don't know, Indian genocide in America or whatever, the Native Americans, and all of a sudden America starts pumping out like literally Indian chiefs with feather headdresses dancing around. We are so happy. We love, our reservations. They are incredible. Ooh, ha, and they do this whole racist, thing. It's the same thing. They're dressing up models in like the Xinjiang costumes and jumping around with cotton. And it's the most disturbingly racist bullshit propaganda you've ever seen. Anyway, kind of reminds me of the vegetable dance.
Right.
Yeah.
Canadian Greg says, conspiracy. Jay Leo says, if you guys reported CCP threats to the police, we take things into our own hands and we deal with it appropriately, but we don't like to tell people about what we do. Yeah. Canadian Greg, conspiracy. Can you guys comment on number 1, Taiwan operated Ever Given Suez boat plus following? The Suez. I feel like everyone else has commented on that. Yeah, it's like, that's all over the news, bro. Canadian Greg.
It's been freed and whatever. Yeah.
Canadian Greg also says Indonesia National Oil Company exploding a few months after deal struck with Taiwan. Lol.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I don't know actually.
Well, we'll look into that stuff. Yeah. Should we get on to our main one?
Yeah,
okay, we're going to do soft power, guys, and this is where we talk about how the Chinese government is trying to change your mind through dastardly, underhanded ways, usually.
And this one is very much that.
Now, before we bring our guest in here, guys, a big thing that's been really annoying me is how the Asian hate, the anti-Asian hate movement has been basically co-opted and hijacked by various different groups for political gain. Okay, there's a lot of mistruths out there. I'll be talking about it in my video, which will be released late tomorrow or Saturday, but it's really, really ticking me off because it's so immoral to take such a serious situation like the anti-Asian hate attacks, these hate crimes, and try to use it as a tool. And what we've been seeing is the CCP doing that, and the CCP sycophants. And I'm going to give you a quick example of this, is that they are fabricating a lot of fake crap, okay? Just recently, the Daily Mao, remember we talked about it, they made that fake Facebook post saying that the Atlanta shooter was, basically saying the CCP is bad, etc., etc.
We suspect they created that to tie it to us.
Absolutely did, because immediately there's a hate website set up against me, which is ridiculous. But they ran with this thing that, SerpentZA has blood on his hands. And they used that fake Atlanta shooter article. And a lot of the sycophants...
Multiple people, yeah.
The big sycophants, like this obsessive stalker that follows us
they're like,
around.
C-Milk and Winston are guilty. They're
using our real names, trying to dox us, linking us to this. Now, the purpose of this is to stop any criticism of the Chinese government. But this has got nothing to do with the Chinese government. These anti-Asian hate crimes are, their own thing.
Yeah.
And it's against all Asians, not just Chinese people.
Right.
And it's got nothing to do with the CCP, but they're co-opting it in order to shut down any criticism. And it's getting crazy. So because our friend Laowhy86 went to one of these Stop Asian Hate protests in
Why don't
LA,
we show a couple clips of what some of the other ones looked like?
Which ones?
Because I have some clips in here before we call them up.
Okay, sure. Let me grab that. But we basically got him to...
Right here. See?
Oh, yes. Like, this whole thing about the CCP co-opting these things is no lie.
No.
All right. So let's take a quick look here. All right. What's going on here in this?
Let's look at the yellow sign says, hold the CCP liable. Stop Asian hate. So that's very true. Now, no one hates the CCP more than Chinese dissidents. Obviously, people that had to leave China because of human rights atrocities, right? So these people don't have any love in their heart for the CCP, and they think that is Asian hate too. And it is. It's the biggest Asian hate in the world.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Now, what's happening is that these people will go up. These obviously CCP type people.
We've got to set the stage here.
Sure.
You're going to an anti-Asian hate protest.
Right.
Okay? Great. You are against anti-Asian hate. You want an end to any kind of hate crimes against Asians, okay? It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what your political beliefs are, but you want to stop this. Okay? Fair enough. That's what you want to do. So that's why this guy says, hold CCP accountable, stop Asian hate.
Right.
But why is this man actively trying to block his sign? His also says, end violence against Asians. Stand against hate.
Stand up.
Oh, sorry. Stand up against hate. Now look, see, a security guy who's part of the organizers of this is also trying to block this sign.
Yep.
That says,
The
hold
guy
the
with the
CCP
Chinese,
liable.
he got security in Chinese on his back.
Yeah, it's
by the
written
way.
in Chinese, yeah.
This is not in China.
Now, why would that be an issue? Why?
These are Chinese people. These are Asian and Chinese people
Yeah.
standing up behind this.
Why would you stop this guy's sign, which has the core message of stop Asian hate? It just says hold CCP liable. It doesn't matter. It's like if you go to a women's march and you hold up a one thing that says, like, you know, smash the patriarchy, and someone else is there like wage gap. It's still related, you know? It's different things, but it's related to stopping Asian hate. You should be able to respect anyone's opinion when it comes to this because the end goal is the same.
Yes.
But you can now very clearly see that it's not okay to criticize the CCP.
No.
And it shows you that the organizers of these events are linked to the CCP. Because why would you try to block this
We've
person's
actually
sign?
we've seen people talking about maybe potentially finding out documents that say that they've actually started some of these events.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a whole lot of, like, look at how actively they're trying to block this person's sign. So you can see that this is not about stopping Asian hate.
No.
This is all about pushing a CCP narrative.
Yep.
Okay?
So let's celebrate the CCP, the biggest killer of Asian people in the world.
Yeah. Anyway, like there in New Zealand,
Yeah.
there was this the big and stop. You know, you can actually see our thumbnail for this is taken from that. It's in the
Yeah.
Auckland Stop Asian Hate protests. They were organized, a lot of them, by the United Front. I mean, there's evidence. There's like
United
chat
Front
logs.
is the Chinese.
It's the
arm.
Chinese propaganda arm overseas. You know, you've got some pretty high-profile people organizing these from the CCP, but they're spinning it. They're not making it, let's stop Asian hate. It's stop criticizing the Chinese government. That's the spin.
That's
they've got
actually
on
the
this.
only thing they care about.
Yeah, and they're bringing out the Chinese flags and all that. China does not represent Asian people abroad. You know, this dictatorship, this authoritarian government does not represent Asian people living in America. Asian people living in America represent Asian people living in America. And the people who sympathize with them and are connected to them and care about them represent Asian people in America. In America. I'm just saying that. So bringing out Chinese flags and being all, you know, don't criticize the CCP, all this kind of thing, that is not correct. That's not what this movement is about.
Correct.
And when you see that kind of censorship of somebody, you know what this is all about. It's clear as day. Anyway, I think we're going to bring in our guest. What do you reckon?
Sounds good.
All right, so let's bring in Laowhy, who's a fantastic comedian, and we hope you go check out his stuff. We do have links down in the description.
We do.
But let's bring him in. So we've been talking about how the CCP has been co-opting these anti-Asian hate movements, and you actually went to one of these, and we wanted to hear from you what you saw there, what you observed. What's it all about?
You know, I went to one in LA because I was seeing these things that are happening, and I really wanted to like just be around other people, especially Chinese people, and just kind of feel that sense of camaraderie. And I went there and was extremely disappointed to find that the far left had hijacked the event. And as I did more research, realized that a far left has hijacked the event or the whole movement. And there's enormous influence from the Communist Party of China. And it's crazy because like I was like, all right, is this like a conspiracy theory here? Like, am I kind of like just trying to make wild guesses here? But actually, it's all there. And when I was looking back at the footage of the event, I noticed a ton of yellow signs that looked like they were made by, first of all, someone that doesn't speak English as their first language. Second of all, it was mass produced and it was lazily produced. There was no effort into these signs. It was literally just stop demonizing China. And like, that was it. And that's the whole problem with these events. The one that I went to was, the title was Anti-Asian American or Anti-Asian Discrimination, stop China bashing. And it was like, oh, wait a second, because those are two very different things. And I went there and, you know, I invited a lot of the people that were there. I posted it on Twitter. I asked the people if I could go up on stage and speak about it. And they were like, sorry, man, we got a full lineup. I was like, you know, I speak Chinese. 90% of your audience is Chinese. Maybe they'd have a lot more resonance hearing someone speak their mother tongue, which, by the way, they would 100%.
Yeah.
And we got a full lineup, man. Next up is a 16-year-old white high school student from LA to tell us about the system and how we need to reshape the way that we train young boys, because when we eulogize what it means to be a tough man, it's just creating a lot of toxic masculinity. What the fuck is this have to do with anything? It was ridiculous. You would think that anti-Asian discrimination was like an afterthought.
Yeah.
Right. Well, because it sounds like.
That has not,
100%.
like, how does that have anything to do with the anti-Asian hate crimes that have been going on? And this is what pisses me off. Sorry to interject, but the fact that anyone is co-opting this movement to further their own goals, and if the far left is grabbing on it because they can harp on about their gripes about, I don't know, white supremacy or toxic masculinity, whatever it is, that's just abhorrent to me that somebody would use a deadly serious situation where you have these hate crimes happening and try to use it for their own purposes. Even worse is that the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, who is probably the worst in the world when it comes to being anti-Asian, let's face it, they killed how many hundreds of millions of Chinese people have died, or at least tens of millions of people, you know, you can go look into it, of their own people. But Uyghurs are Asian, Taiwanese people are Asian, Hong Kongese people are Asian, Philippines, Vietnam, all those people around the South China Sea that they're screwing over all the time. Indians are Asian. They're going in there and trying to take the border and killing people there and stuff. I would say, quite honestly, in the entire world, the CCP is the most anti-Asian organization out there.
It's not just the entire world. I would say entire history, too. The world and the history of time. I mean, if you want to look at death counts, the Communist Party is head and shoulders above anybody else. Yeah. And the thing that the far left doesn't realize is that the Communist Party attempts to speak for the entire diaspora of Chinese people.
Right.
Yeah.
They really try and do that and paint themselves as like the guardians of Chinese people around the world. And I really think about this a lot because I'm like, okay, is it just not appearing in the media that they're consuming, or is it laziness? And I honestly think it's laziness of these people that just are like, oh, well, you know, Trump was always talking about China and how bad China was. So that means that China's actually not bad, because they just, anything that Trump said, they have to believe the opposite and take it to another extreme.
Sure.
And that is really bad, because the Communist Party of China is the most dangerous threat to the world, period.
I'm I'm upset that people are making it a partisan issue. Like the CCP and authoritarian dictatorships is not a partisan issue.
No.
You don't need to bring in whatever political, we can all unite on this, that genocide is evil. Right. And literally oppressing 1 billion plus people is also evil. And weaponizing that, trying to weaponize that populace, not only that populace, but all Asians around the world against actual movements, and trying to co-opt this kind of stuff is really messed up. But I actually want to ask you, since you're so involved with the Chinese community, particularly here in the U.S., what is it like for like a Chinese person that doesn't like the CCP, that doesn't have any love in their heart for the CCP? And I've seen in your videos some of the older generation of people are pretty outspoken about this. They came to America for a reason, and a lot of those reasons tend to be that they didn't trust their government and things were going to shit in China. So how does a person like that cope with this situation, seeing clear CCP influence within a movement that they want to participate in? How does one deal with that? Were you able to talk to anyone about this?
Yeah, I talked to two middle-aged women that were just standing next to the speaker like stage or whatever, because I was there trying to get on stage. I was so close to just being like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go grab the mic. Sure. But I was sitting there talking with these, probably I'd say in their late 40s, two women that were happy to be at the event because you could tell the Atlanta shootings really affected them. Right. And they were talking about that. But once I started translating a lot of what these, honestly, it was 白左 for the audience members that don't know what that means. It's basically like you could say libtard or social justice warrior. Just going up there and spewing their own bullshit rhetoric that has nothing to do with anti-Asian discrimination. As soon as I start translating it to these middle-aged women, you could see the look on their face just go to like, ugh. They just kind of like, ugh, and disappointed for sure. Yeah. Now, the audience was made up mostly of younger Chinese people. And the younger Chinese people, here's the thing. If you don't have something like, for example, what if your landlord, you just moved into a house and your landlord's like, actually, one of my friends actually needs to move into that house and I'm going to kick you out and you can't do anything about it because I have good political guanxi. I've got good relationships. If you don't go through something that is like a systemic problem that screws you over directly, which a lot of young people haven't still, they won't realize how bad the Communist Party is and like really start to open their mind to it, which is why it's interesting that the older people, especially in my videos, my Change Your Mind videos, they went through that stuff. A lot of them, they saw, one of the older ladies I saw was there at Tiananmen Square. She was like, no, I saw it. They ran people over with tanks. I saw it. Right. And like, she left America, she left China for that reason. The youth, I think they get swept up in this movement because they're like, yeah, you know what? My country's actually not that bad. It's Trump and the China bashers, because that's easy. That's super an easy scapegoat versus like looking into the details of the atrocities that the Chinese government is currently committing.
Yeah. I think it's with people like us, we just find it so unbelievably hypocritical that someone could have that viewpoint. But you have to understand that most people don't even have a passing knowledge of China, period. Right. So you even talk about like the people in America, I think we overestimate how much people actually understand about the atrocities that the CCP commits, because I often think that a lot of people just think it's an Asian version of America over there in a different place of the world. They don't think of it past that, right? But if you do actually look into it, it's fundamentally diametrically opposed to any social justice movement or anything that left-leaning people would be involved in, and it's appalling.
Well, could you imagine if people during World War II were like, stop demonizing Germany?
That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing today.
Yeah, it's exactly what's happening. When it comes to the young people, it reminds me of what Mao Zedong did to whip those Red Guards into a frenzy, because you're dealing with people that, everybody in their life, especially when you're kind of a young teenager, your early 20s, whatever, you've got that rebellious spirit. You're unhappy with your life. You want, you always think something's better somewhere else. The grass is always greener. So, they're using that and they're saying like, America's fucked. China's amazing. You have to support the motherland. China's great. And a lot of the people that were born in America, for instance, they haven't actually seen the bad side of China. They've only seen the glossy CCP propaganda.
That subreddit's Sino.
Yeah, Sino, yeah.
Don't even bring those fuckers up.
Yeah, they feel dissatisfied with their lives, as all people of that age do in one way or another, and then they start to blame it on America or the UK or wherever they are, and they start to glamorize and glorify China as this amazing thing, but that's because they haven't actually experienced it yet properly.
Or if they did, it's that type of like, if they go there and they're just there for like 2 weeks and people are like, wow, you're so tall and handsome and your nose is so long. And they're just like, oh my God, I've been a loser my whole life, but now everybody's telling me I'm handsome and tall. Yeah. This is the greatest country I've ever been to. Yeah. And it's like the video I said that I did about this China's second cultural revolution. If you want to become China famous, learning Chinese will hold you back because you will become more empathetic to the struggle of Chinese people.
I think, I mean, for the people that don't know who you are, obviously we've introduced you and stuff, but I highly recommend you go check out Lila Farley's stuff. But what I want to say is I used you in an example fairly recently. I said, have you noticed that the very tanky, very pro-CCP type shill people that you have, I'm talking about Westerners here, so white people, wherever, from Canada, from America, that 99% of them don't speak Chinese.
Right.
And it's very clear, like, okay, you've been in China for how many years now and you don't speak Chinese, yet you are the most massive apologist for this authoritarian regime to the point where it just looks ridiculous, right? And then you have people like Lila Farley and you have other people that speak out against the CCP very, very overtly. And they're always the ones that have proficient Chinese knowledge. And I think there's something very clear to understand there. What is the motivation versus someone that actually speaks fluent Chinese that understands what was happening versus somebody that is currently in China protecting their lifestyle that doesn't speak Chinese or understand what's going on around them? It's very simple, right?
It's such an easy equation to figure out.
Yeah, for sure.
But a lot of people don't. I mean, look at the comment sections for guys like Barrett. It's like all these people just like, thank God we have someone like you speaking out. It's like, why do you prize this dumbass's opinion? Because he's white?
It's super disappointing, like for me, to see that white worship is still happening in China, though.
Yeah.
Because that's a massive thing. It was something that cringed us out. Like in the beginning, let's be honest, in the beginning, it's kind of awesome to be a foreigner rolling around and getting a bunch of attention, right? But eventually it grows tiresome because it goes beyond, oh, need a zhongwen na me bang, right? It goes beyond that. You want to actually have meaningful conversations with people. So that kind of like worshiping you just because you're a foreigner that speaks 5 words of Chinese gets very, very old very quickly. When you see that the shills, the pro-CCP shills out there, you go to their comment sections, you see what kind of audience they command. It hasn't changed. And that's super disappointing to me is because the CCP still relies on and knows that Chinese people, a general populace of people, will look up to a foreigner that's speaking good about their government. Yeah, and that's super, I think it's very embarrassing, number one. Number two, it's something that needs to be rectified.
Sure.
Well, they just it's just such a profitable endeavor to do it. And they're like tumors on Chinese society. They're sucking resources and to mislead. They're getting paid to mislead the population and make them more and more confused, angry, and bitter.
Right.
They're getting paid to do that. And the only way you can do that is by either being a sociopathic piece of shit and or completely ignorant to the reality around you, which not speaking Chinese is great. It keeps you ignorant.
It does.
Now, what you just said about that white admiration type thing, that's why a lot of people are like, dude, I bet you hooked up with so many Chinese girls in China. It's like, first of all, I hooked up with mostly European girls when I was in China because European girls are kind of more into the American bro, or at least my appearance, than Chinese girls. Chinese girls would be much more Laowhy86. They're much more beautiful eyes. But the other fact is that when they treat you, if it's like a blind admiration type thing, you feel weird. Yeah. Like I remember like some girls that I was seeing when I was in Beijing, they would have a video that they'd put on their moments, in their WeChat moments, and they'd be like, just say something in Chinese. They'd be like, say something in Chinese, and then they'd press play. And I'm like, what? And they just want to get like the face. You feel like you're a tool to give face almost.
For
and
sure.
It's weird. As a straight white male, I've never in my life felt like objectified. And I was like, what is happening?
For sure.
It's kind of interesting. Yeah, but just to circle it back to this whole thing, I think it's important for people to differentiate the Chinese government and Asian people. There's a big difference there. And we shouldn't...
Most important thing.
And we have to see how clear it is, the motivations behind them co-opting these events. Like you said, stop demonizing China. That is their main thing. What they want is any criticism of China or the CCP and their bad actions needs to stop because they're trying to equate that with attacks on Asian people. And that's the dangerous part here, is they want to use their brand of censorship abroad, and they're taking advantage of especially the left, who are very easy to manipulate if it's in their favor and fits their narrative. So we need people out there to be able to differentiate and see the difference between these things. And from your perspective, do you have any advice on how we can, keep an eye on this crap?
Well, I wish that they were doing more events. I looked all day to try to find if they're going to do more events because I didn't know. It was shocking. I lost a lot of respect for the left at this event. Like I called my dad afterwards and I was like, Dad, I don't know what to do, man. Like I'm gonna run for office as a libertarian. This is ridiculous. But
Welcome to my club.
it's like it was mind blowing and it was depressing almost. And what I do when something depresses me is I try and turn it into humor. I try and like go through the cathartic process of satire and trying to create something to criticize it in that way. And I just pray that they have more events coming up because I'm going to troll the living shit out of it.
Yes. Please do. And that's what we all need, I think. Yeah. I think just to sum it up, we want our audiences to know that me and Winston are never the type, I don't want to name names, but the type of people that'll go out there and be like, well, they're already here, we're fucked, right? Everything's doom and gloom. America's lost. Fuck this, right?
Sure.
That's not what we want to do. We want concrete reasons and ways that people can identify this kind of stuff and then deal with it in the future, right? And how how can we tell people that would go to an event like this to separate the wheat from the chaff?
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I just try and do it through art. You know, I got that song coming up. I was on the phone with the audio engineer to mix it, and that's going to be coming in mid-April, and I'm so excited for it.
We can't wait.
Song.
We'll definitely promo it. Well, is there anything you want to add?
That's all I can do.
Yeah.
Other than that, you know, just try and educate the people around you. The thing is, you're so right, but nuance is something that's lost in social media often. Right. You know, stop demonizing China. Right. 3 words, boom, got it.
Right.
Like what you just said is completely right, but it takes more than 120 characters in a tweet to understand.
Yeah,
right.
Correct.
Well said.
I think at the end of the day, we have to recognize the anti-Asian attacks for what they are, completely condemn them, you know, stand together in solidarity with people that are victims of these attacks and any attack in general when it comes to hate crimes. It doesn't matter who you are or, you know, where you're from. And at the same time, stop allowing the CCP to take advantage of our democracies and our sensibilities, because that's what they do best. Look to the CCP and what they do before you listen to them and their advice.
It's literally in their playbook is how to undermine free countries because they're easy to undermine because of these values. We can take advantage while we simultaneously as the CCP have the full advantage of putting a wall up for information in and out. Right. Yeah. So please.
We could pick and choose what we show our citizens.
Yeah. Oh man, look, it's as always, fantastic to have you on the show. And we're going to play a little clip, actually, from your video the other day about the Cultural Revolution 2.0, because it's so pertinent to what we do here. And we encourage every one of our audience members out there to go and subscribe to Laowhy because he's a genius comedian and he makes fantastic music videos and he's on the side of right.
Well, thank you so much, guys. Your support is incredible.
No
you guys really make the anti-CCP movement, at least the English-speaking anti-CCP movement, very warm, welcoming, and positive, which is great because the Mandarin-speaking side is splintered and at war with each other.
Oh, yeah. No, it's crazy. And it's very important for people like yourself who are fluent in the language to be there and to relay the message to the Mandarin-speaking audience and to show, you know, put the two together and act as a bridge, really.
Yeah.
So
it's not. There's not many of us, guys.
Yeah,
and Lila's on our team, so definitely go support.
There's not many of us. We're like the rebellion going against the Galactic Empire.
It's truly Star Wars.
Yeah,
it's truly Star. We got the.
Yes,
that's awesome. Awesome, man.
Well, Lila, may the force be with you, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cool. All
Until
right.
next time.
Thank you very much, Lila, for coming on. I think it was really cool to see some firsthand experience going to the, you know, these anti-Asian hate protests and seeing what they really are for.
I'm mostly looking forward to him trolling the CCP people. Of course, both of us, we can speak on behalf of him as well. Lila as well are very much in line with the fact that anti-Asian hate is a terrible thing and should be spoken out against, but we will not allow the CCP to commandeer these events.
No.
And I'm super pumped to see Lila Farley go and troll those people. It will be fantastic.
Absolutely. Like I said during our conversation, it's like they are trying to take advantage of the sensibilities of the West, you know, and the systems, the open freedom, the fact that you can go out and protest and stuff like that. But did you see how they use their normal China censorship techniques at these protests, not allowing people to say anything that's anti-CCP within these?
Right.
It's kind of ridiculous. Anyway,
tis.
Let's answer a couple of super chats before we move on to our next segment. And we are going to show a tiny little clip from one of Lila Farley's videos near the end.
Oh, yeah. Dreadlock Holmes, have you looked into Webull? That is it's kind of like Robin Hood, but China made it.
I love how they use we for everything.
Everything's we. We were mentioning earlier, we were talking about the old school things.
QQ.
Yeah, we don't understand. I mean, a lot of Chinese people didn't understand how brands work. So QQ was a popular messaging service back then. So instead of what did we used to use ICQ, right?
Yeah, they made Oriental ICQ, which is OICQ, which became QQ.
Which became QQ. Yeah. So QQ was their like go-to thing, and it had a little penguin. So everyone was like super pumped. They're just getting the internet.
Yeah,
super pumped they can talk to each other instead of using phones and stuff, right? So they were making QQ sausages, QQ duck restaurants.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I worked for Tencent, okay, for quite a long period of time. And they, like the people that I worked with, were telling me what a battle it was for them, because to try and enforce copyright laws in China is almost impossible, even for a massive company like Tencent who owned QQ. They started it, right? So you'd have fashion brands called QQ Duck.
Right.
And they would try to shut them down, but like it was so difficult. The people using their penguin logos on everything, they just couldn't shut it down.
It's just interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Anyway, now it's like We, because WeChat is the most popular messaging app. Everything's We. So we like bull, we run, we this, we that.
Yeah.
I definitely thought it was Weibo ad when I first heard it. Yes, we have. We have heard of it.
Yeah.
Ramyen 1. Have you seen Dr. John Campbell's video on the WHO's report on the CCP's handling of the virus spread? Would you say that this is proof of the CCP's control of info is working? I have been sent that link multiple times. It's disturbing. What is it working? Of course it's working in certain spheres.
Every single big news article that we've seen up until very recently about the findings of the WHO, what's going on, where did the virus originate, has all been very biased in favor of China's narrative.
Right.
And
until recently.
It shows just how competent they are at changing the narrative and forcing it their way and enforcing censorship on people that speak out against it. So
what I wanted to say about that was that up until recently, that was the narrative, but that is changing.
It's changing.
So because you see like anecdotes like this Dr. John Campbell thing, ignore it because you know it's not real.
No.
But it's dwindling. And Peter and the WHO in general has got their back up against the wall right now. Might have some things to say about that later.
Yeah.
Akosha, Tango and Cash, A Walk to Remember is awesome movie. Bromance is real. Yes. Thank you.
Tango and Cash is cool.
11 says, C-Milk, any idea about when the CCP internal factions video might be coming out? I did put it in my notes and I'm drafting it. I had been working on it actually previously, but I got some other stuff in the works now. But it'll be out eventually.
We've got some important things to get out.
Yeah, we've got to address first.
Yeah.
Sander says, Lactose Boy, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
In your way overdue apology video to the CCP, what did the Chinese subtitles say? The written numbers sure didn't match what you were saying. Yeah. So actually in the comment section, if you look, someone timestamped every single comment with the translation. So you'll be able to find it. Or go on my Patreon. Mm-hmm. Canadian Greg says, Suez Canal, Taiwan operated ship screwed by CCP operative plus Indonesian. Any chance it's the case? Would they go that far on foreign soil? That's what I want to hear comments on. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Skeptical about that.
That's a bit tough to say. I wouldn't go that far.
Yet.
It's possible. Everything's possible. Anyway, we should probably head on to our next section, which of course is Worldview. And we've got some big ones for you today. So Worldview is normally the tail end of our show, but we've still got a lot of questions to answer and stuff. But in this Worldview, we've got some important stuff. I'm first going to start out with Australia. Everybody knows that Australia belongs to China. And it keeps becoming more and more evident. Adelaide. There's a new Chinese embassy. Well, it's more of a compound that was just opened the other day. In fact, I think it was over the weekend. Mm-hmm. Now, hear me out here. It's absolutely ridiculous that it was opened where it was opened. There's a very important strategic shipyard there where they're building military ships, and it's like a naval hub to do with the military. Why would you allow China to open up a secure compound right next to where you've got very sensitive naval operations? This is the first big red flag. It's the sixth one to be opened in Australia, I believe. And why do they need so many? There's a lot of people are asking this because, especially since COVID, there are less Chinese students coming to Australia, right? International students. So there's no need to open more consulates and more missions in Australia because you're having less Chinese people going there. So you should actually be scaling back your operations rather than making them bigger. Another big red flag is this particular area where they've set this up has got the largest Uyghur population in Australia. Okay? So it's got a strategic military the benefit, and it's also got the benefit of being close to all the Uyghurs so they can keep an eye on it.
And we've already seen what the CCP does with Uyghurs abroad.
Yeah.
They monitor them. Facebook just removed a ton of accounts because they were actually actively finding Uyghurs abroad and trying to harass them, find out who they were, where they go.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Now, this compound has got, obviously, CCTV cameras all around it, It's right in the heart of a sensitive area, but a lot of people in Australia, luckily, didn't take kindly to this and went out and protest. So we've got some footage in the background we'll show you of what kind of went down there. This included Uyghurs. This included the Free Tibet people. You can see the Tibetan flag there. This included the democracy, China people.
Democracy.
And this included a bunch of people, obviously,
Inner Mongolian independence.
I believe Drew Pavlov was there as well.
Yeah.
Pavlov,
Yeah.
Pap smear, whatever it is.
Whoa.
Nice guy.
We like that guy.
No, we love that guy. He's going to come on the show at some point. But there you can see, Uyghurs and stuff actually just protesting the fact that this massive big, you can see how big it is. This massive big Chinese compound is opening there in Adelaide. Like, why is this allowed? Why is this happening? It's insane.
I'm more concerned from my national security perspective. My country is dealing. I mean, props to you, Australia. We love you, and you are a deep ally. And we need you as an ally. All of us, like all these countries, need to come together to face down the CCP.
Yeah.
But it's a national security a problem from my perspective. If America is being so close to the country that's just allowed the CCP to run so rampant.
Yeah.
I mean, we already have to deal with Canada on our border doing this shit. Now we got Australia, just really, what's going on? How many diplomats, how many do you need there?
Yeah.
From China?
It's shameful. I mean,
Don't be a satellite state.
Don't forget that they are also a country that allowed the Chinese flag to be hoisted above their police station, in the Box Hill area, that are like cutting cakes, Chinese, like National Day cakes. And, they've got so many ties, businessmen and corruption and stuff that's tied to China. Australia is the weak link. And it has been for the longest time. It's the weak link in the Western world for China to attack. And they've been doing it for a very long time. Of course, we're talking about the Chinese government when we say China, not Chinese people, for all you morons out there. But seriously, it's a big problem that China's influence keeps growing and growing in Australia. And the people aren't happy about it, It's just bloody awful.
No.
Anyway.
Continue.
Where is the clip from Lila's video, by the way? I'm not seeing it in our little media pack here.
It's in the other clip.
It's in the other clip?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's an issue. I'll bring it up. Anyway, another thing that's Australia related, okay, is this guy, all right? Luke Cornish. What's really nice is a Cornish pasty.
I was about to say Cornish hens.
No, Cornish pasties are awesome. That's not a thing in America. I don't see them anymore.
No, but I know what it is because I spent
it's
time with British people.
And you go to the gas station and you get a Cornish pasty and it's so good. Yeah, anyway. That's besides the point. This guy's name is Luke Cornish. Okay.
And that's it.
Yeah. He made art. Now, okay, I'll be honest with you. He did.
It's just the way you say that. It's condescending.
Yeah, because I wouldn't really call it. I'm going to be honest with you. It's like if I went to go doodle on a banknote, okay? Whatever. This is his art. I can't really criticize art. I don't understand art very well. I'm not sophisticated enough, apparently.
I think the piece on the right's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool, but also it looks like someone took a little Cokie pen, or what do you call it, like a Sharpie, and added some... That's not art. How do you get to display that in a gallery?
Let's be nice, because this guy, I loved his quotes about this. First, explain what the hell he did.
Okay. He put these, you see these banknote art. Okay, now the first one is Winnie the Pooh and Tigger hugging. The second one is
This is Chinese currency, by the way.
Yeah, this is the Chinese 10 RMB note. The second one is Mao Zedong with a Batman mask on.
Should have used a Wu Mao.
Yeah, he should have. He should have used a Wu Mao. And then the last one is Mao Zedong, but he's drawn the facial recognition dots and lines.
Right.
Okay? Now, this was put into an art gallery, and the art gallery was intimidated into removing the display. Okay?
Right.
By the usual threatening messages online, hateful messages online, attacks. And when you've got a small art gallery, they don't know how to deal with the Wu Mao and the attacks. That's the thing. They don't understand. It's so difficult. We deal with it on a daily basis. A lot of people who've dealt with China or the CCP know how big this hate campaign is. But imagine you're a small little art gallery. You're like, yeah, we're going to display this guy's art. And then suddenly you're getting hundreds, if not thousands, of directed attacks against you, people close to you, threatening to do things, threatening that you're racist, doing all this other nonsense that they do. Of course, as a small little gallery, you're going to be like, whoa, okay, we're sorry, we didn't know, and you're going to take it down. But it shows the censorship of the CCP happening here. So they took down his artworks.
Artworks. I've seen artworks. I think it came from Australia of a woman who put yarn in her nether regions while she had her period. Yeah. And then like pulled it out because it was bloody, and then that was on display. Now this, on the other hand, this is offensive.
I just had an idea. Yeah, you keep going.
Sure. So here we have I don't know what the significance of the Batman is. I get the Winnie the Pooh. But anyway, this guy got his stuff removed, but I loved his quotes afterwards. So Luke, if you're watching, we're not getting down on you at all. Loved his quotes. He said that he will not apologize for genocide. Maybe he apologizes for offending people. It doesn't matter. He's not going to apologize for genocide or for the CCP's actions.
Yeah. This is let me get this out here. This is a 1 RMB note.
Oh yeah, you got a Sharpie, dude. This is perfect.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with it.
CCP, open up. This is a CCP, open up. You're making him kind of cute. You should make him Hitler.
Oh, it's green.
You're putting your hand behind it's not gonna help.
Probably not. Okay, but hey, look, I am now an artist, everybody. Look at me. Can I go display this in a gallery?
Stop.
Okay.
Stop.
I am. I'm an artist. Maybe this will the shadow will offset it. Can everybody see my beautiful art? It's deep. If you don't understand
we did
this,
better art on our other Mao
You're
picture.
not sophisticated enough to understand this.
Fair enough. But again, Luke Cornish pasty. Everyone wanted to know what's in a Cornish pasty. Everyone was asking.
It's got meat and
vegetables.
vegetables.
I know it is. Okay. Meat and vegetables.
It's delicious.
You're not selling it.
Yeah, I think
you just like junk food.
No, you have no idea how amazing.
I've had a Cornish pasty. It's okay.
Good. It's good. Okay. It's good.
There's
and
better
we just call
pies.
it a Cornish. In South Africa, you go in and like pick up a Cornish. It's like a hot pie. It's a hot pie with a nice pastry. And look it up. You better try one if you can. If you can find a source.
Do you know what they do?
What?
It's in somewhere in northern England. Mm-hmm. They in this like kind of a known area, kind of like countryside area. You know where they speak with very thick accents?
Sure.
It's called a wagon kebab or something. Wigan kebab. Okay. They take like a Cornish pasty, like a pie, like a meat pie. Yeah. And then they put it in a bun, just like 2 pieces of bread, and that's it. That's a Wigan kebab. Oh, okay. It's a real popular food.
Actually sounds pretty
British
good.
food is terrible.
No, it's like some of it is.
It's pretty terrible by and large.
Full
it's
English
a great place
breakfast.
to eat.
Come on.
It's a great place to eat. They have country's food from all around the world, right?
Roast beef and Yorkshire pudding.
Yeah. You hate blood sausage and all that kind of crap.
That's terrible.
And haggis and stuff.
That's not British
That's
food.
Scottish.
Yeah, I guess.
UK.
Yeah, true.
They haven't left yet.
Whatever,
right?
we're off
Anyway, so props to Luke Cornish for standing his ground, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to say props.
Maybe I can send this to him and he can add it to his exhibition.
Sure. He's on our side.
I know. That's why I'm trying to help him. This is.
I will admit his art is not stellar. Okay.
Let's be honest. Maybe he's got other artwork which is incredible. Okay, and this is just the only thing we've seen so far.
You know what I'm gonna say?
What?
Just to defend him. You know how they say like art is meant to start a conversation. You know that bullshit.
Yes.
This actually did, and for that I say Cornish pasty, you did great.
By the way,
you did great.
Maybe what we can do is have a giveaway, and I can send this to anyone out there. Maybe at some point we'll keep this around.
What are you, one of those people that gives? I'm not gonna say who that is.
No, but quite honestly, no. The thing about this is now we're talking about this money. I had, and I probably have somewhere. Something very interesting. You know what you sometimes find on these notes, on the 1 RMB notes specifically, and it's probably because it's cheap, they don't put it on the bigger notes, is like a little blue stamped message in Chinese, which says Falun Dafa Hao or something. And like,
it's Falun Gong.
It's
you know
Falun Gong
the
propaganda,
cult where the people like float around and stuff. Yep. They get their organs harvested in China.
Yeah,
they put that on there in mainland China. It's pretty shocking to see.
And because nobody will throw money away in China, that's kind of clever. Nobody will ever throw that money away, so it circulates.
Sure. I shouldn't say cult, but they're whatever they believe in.
Yeah, their religion, it's like Scientology. It's kind of like a weird alternative religion cult thing, about Tai Chi and stuff. Some people love it. Some people think it's rubbish. It's banned in China.
And China persecutes them brutally.
Crazy. Yeah. Anyway, the fact of the matter is you get those messages and sometimes free debate stuff and all that. And it's kind of interesting because that's a way around censorship in China because money is God there.
Right.
So you can literally put your message on money.
I just had an idea.
What's that?
We need to make that. Well, they helped me.
Yeah.
We need to make this an NFT.
What's NFT?
Everyone wants us to make this an NFT. You know what an NFT is?
What's an
it's
NFT?
digital art that's crypto. So people bid on it with crypto.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can turn it, and everyone wants us to make this an NFT. Let's make this an NFT today. We'll do it right after this podcast.
Okay, great.
And we'll put it up. We'll put the auction up on the next podcast.
That sounds good.
I watched a lot of podcasts do this, but this has a message. We've started a conversation.
Okay, whatever.
Okay, you will own this as an NFT. So we'll put this up next show.
All right,
Deal?
cool.
Deal.
Yeah.
We're dealing this.
Okay, fine.
See?
We'll do it. Okay.
Hold us to it.
Yeah, I can be an artist too,
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, we got to continue here with our show. So
Okay. So
that little clip that we wanted to show you, by the way, just before it slips away from us and we forget about it, it's a very tiny clip. So just bear with me. I need to go find it. But Lola Farley. The reason we bring him in on the show and the reason why we try to promote him is because he really is fantastic, and he has an incredibly important message for people to look at. And the fact that his Chinese is so good, and he's been, big in China. He was one of those white monkeys, for lack of a better word. He was a presenter and an MC for some massive.
he was a high-level white monkey.
And I don't even know if white monkey is correct because he was actually just doing his job.
Talented.
Yeah, and he's talented and stuff. He's been there and he's seen it and he's been a part of the machine. And so from that point of view, he has the experience. It's not someone sitting from the outside trying to put their opinion across. It's someone who loves the culture and the language so much that he dedicated so much of his life to learning it. And fluently, he is literally one of the best Mandarin speakers I know. And that's saying something. And his Chinese is better than a lot of Chinese people. And that's not even a joke. So it's always good to see that. But he has a lot of important things to say. So we're going to show an incredibly short clip here. It's like a couple of seconds. And then the link to this video will be down in the description for you to go and watch after the show, because I do recommend seeing it. Let's see if we can actually get the audio to work this time around. Let's try. Well, guess what? Give me a second. I have to change a little setting here. I will change a setting. Yeah, guys,
I'll read this while you do this.
Yeah, you do that.
DTQC says, I've removed my picture and location from my Facebook profile, and now when I troll the trolls on CGTN, they barely never answer. Nice.
Okay. What is that supposed to mean?
Poor decision.
Okay, it's working.
Can't get anything. Okay, ready?
Sorry, there's a janky setup that we have going on here, and it sometimes doesn't work. So we're going to just quickly show you this clip. It's literally a couple seconds long. Please watch it. And here we go.
2021. Is China in another cultural revolution? And how does that affect your decision to learn Chinese? First, let's point out the obvious. Both periods have one-man rule, cult of personality, rampant nationalism used to distract from the party's failures, inefficient allocation of resources, state interference in all private industry, local officials inflating numbers to appease their leader, public intellectuals persecuted for speaking out, students reporting on teachers and fellow classmates, and, of course, the arts being turned into a tool of propaganda, stifling the country's creativity while promoting state-sponsored entertainment.
Yeah, okay. So we're back.
Just a little clip. Definitely check it out. So the reason we brought that up is because we have the link to that exact video in the description.
Sure, it's a good watch. It's a should you learn Chinese?
I love that. He's put so much work into that video.
That's the thing. I think for the casual person, that doesn't sound like a very enticing title to a video. You're like, what does that have to do with anything?
It's much deeper.
The important thing is he talks about how he's had to actually break contact with his very good friends in China simply because, it puts them at risk to be associated with him. And it gives
We're in the same boat.
It gives you a fantastic look into what's actually going on with China. And exactly how it operates. So please go take a look at that if you get a chance. And of course, behind us we have Wolf Warrior, and this is what the Wolf Warrior diplomats are named after. This nonsense movie. If you watch it, you'll cringe.
You'll die of cringe.
You will cringe. Just you might want to do that actually.
You might want to do it. It's the most popular movie of Chinese history.
Yes, and
in
most
Chinese
highest
history.
grossing movie and all that kind of stuff.
It's more like the highest grossness.
Don't forget, a lot of it is because it's like patriotic to go watch it, so you should watch it type thing.
for sure.
Anyway, it's time for us to do our Q&A, everybody, and that's where we answer your questions and you question our answers. So let's hit it. We've got a lot to get through, so let's get through them.
John Weiland says AAPI, a bogus term invented by woke Baizuo. Planet Earth, thank you very much. Ray Scott, that's been watching for years, and I love you guys. I really enjoyed this week's video commenting on your China footage. Please do more. By the way, about the AAPI thing, I think that's the Asian Pacific Islander protest hate thing. So that is not my opinion. That is what Sean said.
Yeah, we got to look into that.
I don't know much about that.
I'm doing a lot of research into this because my video on tomorrow or Saturday, whenever it's released, is going to be talking about it. But I want to do a very in-depth look because it's turning out that a lot of these anti-Asian hate cases are very individual. And it's usually people that are like serious criminals, like the 65-year-old woman that was brutally beaten outside that place. The guy who did it was on parole for murdering his wife. Not a very good guy. And he's just a piece of crap that would go and do terrible things anyway. So there's a lot of nuance if you look closely at each individual, case.
Right.
Anyway,
that word gives me a chuckle sometimes.
Yeah, me too. Nonce.
So Ray Scott says, been watching you for years. Love you guys. Sorry, I literally just read his thing.
Yeah, there's one other
Thank you
thing
so
from Ray Scott. We on ADVChina, if you haven't seen it, we released on Monday.
Yeah.
We've decided to take some of the unreleased footage that we have driving through the more rural parts of China, because we talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
We talk about our experiences, but if we can show you, because we have actually quite a bit of good stuff that you haven't
in different
seen before.
provinces.
And we're just watching it and we're commenting on it and we look at the propaganda signs and the signs on the side of the road, what people are doing, and we're explaining it as we go along.
It's very cozy. It's very relaxing.
I think it's a good thing to do. So if you haven't checked it out, you should check out ADVChina and let us know what you think. If you want us to make it a thing, we can just kind of continue doing that for a while on ADVChina.
The video in question is called We're Back in China.
Yeah, it's called We're Back in China because it's kind of April Fool's clickbaity, whatever.
Fireheart says, has the flooding in China slowed down? Still worried about that big dam? Well, it's not rainy season yet.
No, it's not a thing right now.
No.
Yeah.
Kid 32888. May President Xi will meet Chairman Mao really, really soon.
Nice. By the way, if you want to know if the flooding is getting bad in China, just wait for a bunch of shills to be like, we're going to the Three Gorges Dam to show how great it is. Then you'll know it's getting bad.
If there's a problem like genocide or human rights atrocities or a natural disaster, just wait for the pro-CCP shills to go to that location.
Yeah, to go to some place. Then you know there's a problem because they're used as PR to like, don't look here, everything's great.
Right. It's just, the CCP acts like a criminal running to the crime scene.
Absolutely.
All the time. Yeah. Every time. Amy Murphy says, as somebody who is on the left, I wholeheartedly agree that this is bipartisan. Thank you for saying that. And I'm so tired of, especially in this live chat, I shouldn't pay attention to it so much, but people got to stop arguing about Trump and Biden. This has nothing to do with that.
Agreed.
You don't understand how little this has to do with that.
Yeah.
It disgusts me that people who claim to be anti-fascist defend the CCP. Absolutely.
Correct. Yeah.
It's horrific. Dog Life, quadruple 4. Lila Farley poops on the far left and Trump. Last time he said he disliked Trump, and the vocal people in your chat went on a frenzy about him talking bad about Trump. I laughed my butt off that time. Exactly. Yeah. And it doesn't matter.
Here's the thing. A person's like the real having an opinion about a political party shouldn't change the real work that a person does.
No.
Because you can
even if you disagree with it.
Yeah, you can disagree. But when someone is doing something like, okay, here's a guy baking a cake and he bakes this incredibly good cake and you watch him and he's masterful at it. That's what you look at, is what he can do. Because you can't bake a cake like that. I certainly can't.
Exactly.
And if he is baking this cake in this amazing thing and he has a political opinion you don't like, it doesn't matter. Ignore that part. Look at the good that he's doing.
Right.
So if you don't agree with his political stance, it doesn't matter because what he's doing is incredibly important.
Correct.
Just the same with
That's
me.
exactly what I was going to say. It's like you may not disagree. Me and Winston don't agree politically.
No, we don't agree politically.
But we're best friends.
Yeah.
And we still agree on a very important topic. And the reason we collaborate so well together is because we understand that the influence of the CCP is not bullshit. It's not our way to make money. It is the most important thing in the 21st century that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And with someone like Lila, doesn't matter what he says about whatever politician, because the overarching message is that he's fighting against the CCP, and you should support that sentiment.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
JD Mann. Hey guys, thanks for all you do. Keep bringing the message of truth about China. Maybe we can get all the people to start thinking and talking about the threat China posed to the West and Taiwan. Yes.
And again, we're talking about the Chinese government and
Yes,
the CCP, not
of
the
course.
Chinese people, for all you morons out there who can't tell the difference.
Yes.
Chinese people does not equal CCP.
No. Sean Rice says, wow, caught you live twice in a row.
Nice.
That never happens. Good job. Awesome April 1st, C-Milk. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Benjamin Wood, you should organize groups to go to these CCP AAPI events. A little dangerous for us.
Yeah.
And
we
will
are
be-
not we are not here to brigade and to try and cause trouble, but what we are here to do is to show
truth.
the truth and to help people understand what's going on, because a lot of people are ignorant to this and they'll look at this event and think that it's good natured and stuff, but what they don't realize is that it's an engine for censorship,
Correct.
you know.
Right. Well said. David Neufeld says, thanks, Lila. I went through exactly that the betrayal from the left due to CCP influence 4 years ago in Vancouver. David Neufeld also says, the left is as gullible to the CCP influence as the right is to anti-China hate rhetoric. I hate partisan agendas hijacking real crisis. Thank you.
Exactly.
It's exactly
Yeah.
correct. Do not make this a partisan issue.
Yeah.
Tara Doherty says, when I lived in China for a month in 2017, people would ask me, what do you think of Xi Jinping? All I would say is, I think he is smarter than the American president. What was the objective of that question?
Oh yeah, we would
that's
get
a
that
good
a lot.
old bait. You
They
got
bait you.
baited.
Very often we'd get politically charged questions thrown
Sure.
at us and especially just having a barbecue or whatever, they'd ask you something very specific. What do you think about the South China Sea? What do you think about this? Because they're digging. They want to cause trouble. And they want to know what's like...
It honestly, though, depends. Because if you get someone that's naturally questioning the narrative in China and they want to know, and then you kind of were like very nice about it, but you're like, listen, I think that he's on the wrong track, blah, blah, blah. And they respect your opinion.
It's a trap.
Not necessarily. I'm saying the people that are genuinely curious will still take offense to that, of course.
Yeah.
The thing is that they may be able to say, because the whole worshiping foreign people is a real thing. So if they say, oh, that actually plays into exactly what the CCP narrative said that they would say. Or it might say, oh, that's interesting. So they don't just randomly worship the leader, right? But yeah,
Well,
I mean, a lot of times
very often I have avoided actual conflicts.
of course.
Because remember that time they were like, where are you from type thing, and we're like, England. They're like, good, you're not American, because
I almost
you'd be
got
trouble.
beat up.
Yeah, or that time where it's like, are
That was
you
the
American?
mafia.
I'm like, no, and they're like, good, see, because what we're doing here. They ask these questions for a reason. So it's always good, it doesn't matter what country you're in, to be politically ambiguous. So when
course.
somebody asks you a politically charged question, you just say, I don't really know, I'm not Chinese, or I don't really know, I don't know enough about it. And that's the
Right.
best way to get
Agreed.
out of that. Yeah.
Jordan Larimore, have you all read the Amnesty International report regarding Uyghur family separation? I have. I breezed through a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Saptarshi Sengupta, you guys are right. Most CCP admirers have never experienced the CCP's oppression firsthand. In India, Mao had many fans till he decided to invade us in 1962, just to save face after his great leap. That's a very good point, actually.
Yeah.
Sick Lid, for your brave stance. Thank you. Orion Agape, have you considered running PR firm that advises companies explicitly on China issues, running lots? I mean, that's definitely an avenue in the future for us. Daratend, guys, Chinese signals intelligence is crap. Five Eyes is beyond advanced. There is a good reason we let them build it in the embassy there. It's not a mistake.
Nope, it's a mistake.
Trust me, it's a mistake.
Why would you do that?
Smurf17.
China doesn't allow the American embassy to build next to their military base.
No.
And also, speaking about that, why does Australia have so many? You know, the South African consulates in China, there are 2 of them. One is in Beijing, one is in Shanghai, the 2 big things. And that was really annoying because if you live anywhere in the country, you have to go fly to one of these places. The worst part
we have
is,
4, I think.
you know, when I had to get my passport renewed, get a new passport, they take your old one. And you can't travel without a passport. And it takes 6 months to get a new one.
I remember.
Because of South Africa, because they ran out of passport printing paper or whatever garbage excuse they have. So, you know, I had to do all sorts of weird stuff. Like, luckily I had a driver's license. And the driver's license would allow me to travel by train, but not by plane or whatever. So I took the fast train to get around that. But then not having a passport for so long was so
annoying.
tough. Yeah, anyway, whatever. It's nonsense. Don't get into that.
Smurf17 says, good morning from Shanghai. Been watching for years and really appreciate the insight that you both provide. Loved conquering northern China, as did my wife, who hadn't seen those areas. This is to help you both get back on the road when the world opens up. Thank you,
Thank you
Smurf.
so much for
very
that.
generous.
Yeah.
Corey Samek, boot the CCP and their collaborators out of Canada. Tapas and Kanyas. Cornish pasties are basically a British empanada. That's what I'm more familiar with.
It's better than an empanada.
No, it's not.
It's so much better.
Do you even know what an empanada is?
No. I don't. I'll be completely honest with you, but it's better than that.
You love Mexican food, so
Yeah.
you would love it.
No, I do love Mexican food, but I think a Cornish pasty, there's something about it. It's so hearty. It's got such a good sauce to it. It's the beef stew that's more or less in there. It's so good.
Sure. It's pretty good. Magnum Beef says, just finished dying laughing at Sea Milk's April Fool's video. Cheers, guys. Thanks for everything you do, both informing and entertaining. Thanks, man. Shaky Ninja, slagging off our food. You have greatly offended the British people. Keep up the good work, guys. Thank you. I love British people because they can actually take.
Most people in the world can
they
take
can.
a freaking
They can.
joke, just not China. If you were to say something bad about Chinese food, you'd have people literally, on a hate boner after you.
This is true. Wolfgang Amadeus, thank you very much. Loved your work back in the
back in the classical period.
classical period.
Symphony number 9 in B minor specifically.
Do keep it up.
Yeah.
Saptarshi Sengupta, are anti-China dictatorships like Vietnam free of CCP propaganda because they don't have freedom of speech and expression for the CCP to exploit like Western countries do? Yes. Vietnam's a great example of that. It's a government and country that hates China.
Yeah.
Yet they operate very similarly, right?
Sure.
Vietnam's nowhere near as bad, but it's still a very heinous dictatorship.
Sure.
That being said, me saying that doesn't prevent me from going, right? Me saying that about China, I'm effed, dude.
Yeah.
On this big of a platform, I can say Vietnam's a horrible platform. That's a country that has like terrible human rights atrocities. That doesn't make it okay to say something like that in Vietnam.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to immediately get disappeared for saying that in Vietnam.
Sure.
Versus in China, I will.
Yeah.
Nathan87, real, not gas station Cornish pasties are amazing.
Yeah.
Britain does not have the same ubiquitous food culture as some other countries, but find what it is to offer and you won't be disappointed. I mean, I love fish and chips and things like that. And I actually like blood sausage.
Oh, okay. Good for you.
Dustin Pearson, thanks. Hey guys, TYKS for having Lila. Thank you so much, I guess that means.
Must be, yeah.
For having Lila on. Watch Field of Vision about Hong Kong. Watch Conquering Southern Northern China about the wonderful people and landscape of China. Appreciate both. Stay healthy. Much to be grateful for. Good to see you, Dustin. Andrew Clunas. Many thanks to you for both of what you do. For understanding on the modern ID poll left by Zua, I highly recommend Cynical Theories by Helen Pluckrose and James Lindsay. Super thorough deep dive on ideology and aesthetic.
Oh, I mean, okay. Don't know them, but...
J-Man, nice guy, 1492. Another Guanxi Corner question. Watching Matt's old videos with you and Vivi were long distance before you're married, right? COVID forced me and the U.S. and my Chinese-Canadian girlfriend to go into a long-distance relationship. I find our cultural differences are worse now. It's always going to be worse long distance. Very hard.
Guanxi Corner, where we talk about relationships, specifically to do with anything business or romantic.
And my reply is, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
It sucks. Long distance relationships are very difficult.
Yeah. To be honest, cross-cultural relationships are very difficult.
Yes.
I would not advise a cross-cultural relationship to anyone.
Sure.
I think if you had an option to not have a cross-cultural relationship, it would make your life a lot easier.
Sure.
But,
We're also advocates for responsible ones where people take the
sure.
time and patience to understand each other.
I lived in China for 14 years. He lived in China for 10 years. We met our wives there.
Mm-hmm.
We had long relationships. We understand the culture very well. We can speak the language.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a prerequisite. I'm not saying it's wrong for you to have a cross-cultural relationship. I'm just saying that the hurdles that you will face are immense. It's like climbing over Mount Everest. And there's a lot of hurt that goes both ways.
Sure.
I mean, there are people that don't speak the language and then they don't see the hurdles because they can't discuss the hurdles and they don't really know they exist. That's different. But I'm just saying it is tough. So be prepared to continually fight against your cultural clashes.
Yeah, and we're absolutely advocates for it, but we have seen just a disturbing amount of train wreck stories because people reach out to us because of our experience.
Yeah.
And we understand how bad it can get.
Oh, yeah.
Jay Leo says, I've been to a Hong Kong protest last month in Santa Monica. I saw protesters stepping on the Chinese flag and then ripping it to shreds. What do you think of them, and would you guys do something like that? No, I would not personally.
I personally wouldn't really go as far as to set flags
I understand
on fire
the
or
anger.
anything.
I understand.
But, at the end of the day, you see people in America tearing up American flags.
Sure.
You see whatever. Like, if people really want to go and do that to prove a
Oh,
point,
I think it's still it's your right to do that.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't do that. I think it's in poor taste.
It's a bit disrespectful. I mean,
Yeah.
I even made that video about why I wouldn't burn the portrait of Chairman Mao.
Sure, it's
just out of
disrespectful.
respect for Chinese people that would get hurt by it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You just
I
don't
hate the guy.
You don't need to piss people off irrationally.
We ended up doing some dastardly things to that picture. We didn't like set
Not
it
on
on fire
camera.
though. No, but it's hanging on our wall here. We'll show you sometime.
You
know?
had to bring up good old Mao.
Yeah, exactly.
Dion Chapman, a shill did a video on the cotton. It showed up in my list of videos. All of the
shills did videos on the
So
cotton.
when we called ASMR, when we called that
Yeah.
when we called that they were going to go to Xinjiang, we
Yeah.
were right.
No, absolutely.
Guess what? They all did cotton videos. They literally did videos where it's like, I support Xinjiang cotton. So it's like, I support genocide. You watching white people, white Canadians and Americans with thumbnails and videos.
And British people.
And British people saying, I support genocide.
Yeah.
You guys, I'm giving you a really clear warning. In 5 years when people talk about this after the fact,
Yeah.
you don't want to be on that side. No. Trust me on this. It's going to be a bad look, especially if you try to get a job in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Don't worry, we'll make sure the world never forgets.
True. Haley, I super chatted earlier, but again, this is why I highly recommend you guys checking out Crystal and Sagar here on YouTube. Much love. Okay.
Can you put that in our notes?
I
so we
did
can
actually
you
last
did?
time. So.
Okay. All right, we'll check it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Linda Hunter, always nice to hear from Linda, our buddy. Hello, fellows. Always with the best emojis. Today we got a heart, a house, a clover, a earth, and a frog. Please recommend a mobile phone. I would say iPhone.
Look, depending on your budget, you can't go wrong with a Google Pixel.
Yeah.
A Google Pixel 5, or even a 4 Plus or 4A, I think it's no, not 4A is the cheap one, the XL, 4XL, or the 5.
Sure.
That's you have no idea how good that phone is for the money.
It
it's
is. I bought one for my brother
$600
because it's that good. But if
Yeah.
money's not an object, and I think Linda is quite a wealthy lady, I would just say for ease of use,
Yeah,
I would say an
sure.
iPhone.
Yeah, I
12
mean,
Max
you know,
Pro.
the Pixel is so bleeding edge though when it
Yeah.
comes to like the software. The hardware's
Sure.
not as good as the iPhone. I don't want to get into this big debate now, but you know, it's so tied in with Google that the
Yeah.
Google Photos and everything is incredible. All that stuff, the package. I've moved over to iPhone. I miss my Pixel big
I get
time.
it, but do you understand? Like when you're talking about a person that potentially doesn't really understand phones that well,
You
and
don't
they're
have
asking-
to though.
That's the thing, is that every time someone in my family that has an Android and they don't know what they're doing, it's running slow. Oh, this is
That's
blah,
different.
blah.
Pixel's different.
Is
I
it?
mean, it is.
Okay.
Like I gave one to my mom when she came to visit me like 2 years ago. Whenever I got her the Pixel 3 XL, same as what I had, and she uses it and she can just snap photos and they come out fantastic every time. It requires
Yeah, but it's still you.
If my
it's
mom
the
can
Android
understand
ecosystem.
it, yeah, it's true.
It's
But
full
if
of
my mom
spam.
can understand it, it's good.
Sure.
But
I know, understand, but in a year's time, she's going to be like, "Oh, this is running slow because
No,
of these
it's been
apps."
2 years.
Okay, fair
Remember,
enough.
even
Good.
my Pixel 3 XL lasted forever. I'm just
Yeah, but
saying, like,
you're
if
a
you're gonna
power
go,
user.
if you're gonna go Android, then get a
Sure.
Pixel.
We both use iPhones. I'm
We
just
do now.
trying not to mislead the populace
No,
here.
but if the
I'm not a
Pixel
shill
5
for
wasn't
Apple, by
such
the way.
wasn't such a disappointment to me because it's
Sure.
basically the same as the Pixel 4 and the Pixel 3.
Sure.
I would have gone with it.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm happy with it.
We use a Mac ecosystem.
Yeah, so yeah.
Edward Crosby, inspired by one of Winston's video in 2013, inspired me to go to China.
Nice.
I spent 2014 at Wuhan. Good thing it wasn't in 2020.
Yeah.
Have a snow on me.
Oh, fantastic! I'm glad. Yeah, you know, the experience in China is definitely worthwhile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just be very careful.
Yeah, just don't be high profile like this.
Arbitrary
And of course,
detentions
right
aren't
now, you
things.
don't go there unless you want them to shove a cotton bud up your ass
Yeah.
and humiliate you and force you to take a Chinese vaccine. Which is
Yeah. Oh,
the
yeah. You can only go
stupidest
there
thing.
if you have a Chinese vaccine, the one that doesn't work
So
very
even
well.
if you have your Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, you still can't get in because you have to additionally get a Chinese vaccine.
Yes. So don't go now.
Just don't
It's out
go.
of protest.
Yeah.
Random person says, "Stay awesome. Would love to hear an update on what's been happening in Hong Kong. We got something planned for next week. Don't worry." David Pay, have you looked into Iran practically selling their souls to the CCP? A lot of my Iranian peers are devastated. Actually, a lot of protests against China in Iran right now because of what the government did. And that's the shame about Iran. A progressive country full of very, very smart, intelligent people that are very, very secular. But they have to bend to the whims of their basically dictatorship that has sucking the G-Bob of China.
Absolutely. Yeah, what
Sucks.
can you do?
It's awful, though.
It's the same as South Africa and other countries.
Like, what do you do?
Yeah. That you can't go against a tyrannical government like that.
No.
You know?
Sucks.
What do you do? Yeah.
But at least they're protesting.
Yeah.
It shows you there's dissent in these countries that are supposed allies of China. Linda Hunter, original Cornish pasties had a ridge of pastry across the top so that miners could hold it with grimed hands and then toss the handle.
That's why they have that pattern around. It's so
interesting.
cool.
I know they do. I didn't know why. That's
Mine food is awesome. Mine beers are great
Mine food.
It is. Dude.
In my food.
And mine food. Yeah. You know, the very popular beer I used to drink a lot in South Africa is Black Label. And it's kind of like the
beer?
miners love. It's like always in the adverts, you've got these like really buff miners in the coal mines, in the gold mines and stuff. And at the end of the day, and they bring this crate and put it down, they all crack open a black. It's awesome.
Nice.
Mine beers.
Selling me.
Yeah.
Cy Weirs, thank you guys for all your work. I've been watching your videos for a couple of years now. I moved from the U.S., from Eastern Europe, and I love it. Moved to the U.S. Oh, okay. Thank you. Many of my Eastern European friends buy into Chinese propaganda, and it's terrifying for me. Yeah. I do not want to see Eastern Europe. You guys are smarter than that. Look at Estonia. I wouldn't call Estonia Eastern Europe, but they're literally like dumping Chinese diplomats left and right. It's awesome. Yeah. Gary Ladia, hello from Melbourne. My wife is from Chaozhou. Nice. Very close to where we were from. We lived. You guys ever visited there? Too many times.
Yeah.
In 2017, I was planning to relocate to Shanghai. And now with what's happened with COVID-19 and your videos, I'll never do it.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. I'm going to digress a little bit here. I know we've got questions to cover, but let me be brief. I had a long conversation with an old friend of mine, somebody who's been in China for as long as I have. He's not big in the YouTube or anything. Nobody will know him. He was basically based in Xiamen for most of the time, which is, opposite to Taiwan down there. And he's always kind of held on to this idea that China was a great place to live. And he set up his life there, right? So he's got a steady girlfriend. He's got a really nice apartment. He's got all this stuff there, right? Okay, he's set. Okay, this is where he's decided he's just going to keep working, keep living. He loves it there. Flies back just at the wrong time when COVID hits. Is not allowed back into the country. Even now that they are allowing people in, the school that he works for and stuff is like, no, just don't come back. They're just like, no, don't come back. They don't want him to come back. And it just proves that it's never a stable situation in China. You can love the living there, you can love the situation, you can love everything about China, but as a foreigner, you will never have a situation where you can very stably say, I'm just going to settle down. I'm just going to have my life here.
Right.
Because like that, things can change and you're out. And everything that you've built there, every single thing, don't forget, I had 14 years of life built in China. Everything is gone on a whim. And that's why I don't suggest anyone to seriously consider moving to China.
Sure.
Do a gap year, yes. Go be there
travel
for a couple of years, travel around, whatever. But to think that you can move there, don't ever do that.
No. Dennis Stafford, thank you. L.E. Munoz says, disappointed with Danny Haifeng's CCP shilling appearance on the Jimmy Dore show, but it's time for you... Maybe it's time for you to try to get on and set the record straight. Oh my God, don't even get me started on that shit. What a freaking psychopath.
Yeah.
Holy crap. This is the most diluted bullshit you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
Chris Bridgers, any plans on doing any force induction videos on Worthless Whips? We'd love to, actually.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's coming.
Actually, we might.
Yeah, that's coming. Don't you worry. Soon.
Magnum Beef. We should just start calling China by its real name, West Taiwan.
Nice.
Sam from Poland. Good channel. Recommend if you speak Chinese. Thank you for standing with Taiwan. Greetings from Poland. Here's some beer money.
Thank you.
Stan.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
And good luck with your channel. This interesting title that says something Tiananmen Massacre.
Yes.
It's funny how China and its government boycotts Western brands, but they will never shut down those factories in China. Hypocrisy is real. You're absolutely correct.
Sometimes, yeah, I know. That's the thing. They don't shut down even though they get screwed over. He's talking about the hypocrisy of the Western companies. Yeah. It really annoys me. It's like, can people not see the wood for the trees here? It's really pisses me off. Stop dealing with China. They're going to take advantage of you. You think you're going to get a part of the market? No, you can be upended. Look at what happened to H&M overnight. This can happen to you. And guess what? They can seize all your assets. They can seize your factories and then make your goods and just relabel them as their own. That's what happens.
Correct.
Okay. Why not try and deal with democracies in places where there's real rule of law? Why not try that on for a change?
Yes, exactly.
You know? I know you have to pay higher union fees and labor and stuff, but guess what? It's worth it. People around the world would pay more for a product that is a proper, good quality, ethical product. I would.
Me too. Absolutely. We'll just run this out. The last one, Connor says micro stimmy. Thanks for the show. I love the show and keep up the good work. And
Excellent.
we'll see you guys next week when we unveil the greatest NFT you've ever seen in your life, Winston's artwork, which will go into the fund of fighting oppression.
This is real art. I mean,
It is now.
apparently
It is now.
Stuff like this can be shown in a gallery somewhere,
It is now, dude.
and you saw it live. You know, so
We're about to see it next week when it goes on auction.
I'm a performing artist.
You will.
Yeah,
We'll
the
put up
performing arts.
Yeah.
No, that's not correct, is it? That's not how you say it. That was just whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
You're
Guys-
a dancer.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us again. This is an incredibly important conversation that we have every week here. I know we have a lot of detractors out there who are going to continuously attack us, but remember, the more the people attack us, the more people try to play catch up with us, the more people focus in on us, the better we're doing.
Yes.
So, yeah, can't wait to see you next time.